Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Darrell Dukes Podcast. I am your host, Darrell Dukes. We're kicking off this week's DDP with the FCC, also known as the Federal Communications Commission. Now, we found out not too long ago, thanks to a joke Stephen Colbert said on his late show last week, that President Trump was nothing but Russian President Putin's penis holder. Note, we're using the word penis because he used another term that I don't want to get reported to the FCC for. And people literally called the FCC to complain that Mr. Colbert used that joke and it was very derogatory, calling, once again, Russia President Vladimir Putin a penis holder. Note, again, I am using the somewhat family-friendly version of it. If you want to see the actual joke that Stephen Colbert used, look it up on YouTube. Now, Stephen, in his defense, used that joke outside of what the FCC calls the safe hours. I'll explain. So, in between the hours of 6 a.m. and 10 p.m., where most likely that's the time where children are watching television, certain words you cannot use because, again, children are watching. Now, anytime after 10 o'clock, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., you can basically use whatever you want and show whatever you want on TV. Hence, if you see Cinemax After Dark or HBO After Dark, they showed sort of adult films up to an extent after 10 o'clock. Why? Because most likely little children are not watching Cinemax or HBO around that time. They should be in bed sleeping, but again, it depends on the parents. So, Colbert, it took 2 days for Colbert to respond. Why? Because the Tuesday after the joke was made, Colbert told his audience, watch Jimmy Kimmel's monologue on his son getting open heart surgery. Well, Jimmy Kimmel's newborn son getting open heart surgery, instead of watching him opening up his Colbert's late show. Now, the FCC is, and again, I'm speaking from me right about now. The FCC is any person's in public media's worst nightmare. Why? Because one false move, you get reported to the FCC. That's why. If you notice with local television stations, before at the top of each hour, they always have station identification because, again, that is an FCC mandate. And if something should happen on that station at a certain time, the Federal Communications Commission could lay a heavy fine of their choosing to the station, which they will have to pay for basically airing obscene comment or some sort of obscene comment on television during that time. To me, it's again, if you want to threaten somebody in the broadcast journalism world on television, you mention the words FCC, I guarantee you we will stay in line or keep us in check, because last thing we need is to get the license revoked for the stations. That's what FCC can do, which they have done before. I remember this radio station now called Power 96 with the call sign WPOW. It was, I can't remember, I think it was Magic 96. Again, this was in Miami with the call sign WCJX. And again, I could be wrong, but they had their license revoked. And again, I'm checking my laptop right now to make sure I have the proper information. So the call sign, again, I had to make sure I looked this up. So the call sign was at the time WMXJ, which was 96X. They launched October 1st of 1975. Now, the station license was revoked by the Federal Communications Commission after a persistent series of fraudulent contacts airing during these days. One was known as WMYQ, which was back in the early 1970s. The owners at the time was Charter Broadcasting signed off the station on February 15th, 1981, after a statement by Vice President General Manager Bob Allen. And as soon as the last song that was played, A Long Winding Road by the Beatles, the last song on 96 Edge, Stuart Scott was doing his best to hold back tears, and his final words were 96X is WMJX Miami, and that's when the station was pulled, shut down after that. So that's the type of power the Federal Communications Commission can do to a station. That's why hence call signs in local news stations, local markets are shown at the top of each hour, because if something should happen, the FCC can do what I just described there with WPOW back in back in the 70s when it was WMJX. Changing topics now. If you remember shows on MTV, Rob and Big, you remember Rob Dyrdek, host of Ridiculousness, and his best friend, Big Black Christopher Boykin. It was reported by TMZ that earlier this week, well, Tuesday morning to be exact, Mr. Boykin had passed away. According to TMZ, it was due to a heart attack, and like I mentioned, he was Rob's bodyguard. Now, the ex-wife posted on Big Black's Twitter page saying that, her heart is breaking, and, there would be nothing for it like that. Rob Dyrdek basically said that, his condolences and he was heartbroken. And there was a time when Rob Dyrdek was going on his own and starting on Fantasy Factory. There was a relationship between him and Big Black was not doing so well. In the end, they managed to rekindle that relationship. And now, as you could see, they're both, Rob is devastated that his best friend and bodyguard had passed away. Changing topics to another thing, I'm pretty sure you heard of the show Dance Moms on Lifetime. Its host for the past few seasons, I want to say 7 seasons, 8 years. Abby Lee Miller is going to jail. Miss Miller was sentenced to a 366 day in jail for bankruptcy fraud and bringing more than $120,000 worth of Australian money over to the U.S. while reporting it. Now, in addition to that, like I said, the reason why she's no longer doing Dance Moms anymore is because that she wanted more credit for the stuff that she does on there, but yet she didn't get the credit that she deserved. So that's that. And while I was going over the information, I googled how much is $120,000 Australian dollars to the United States dollars. So basically, Miss Miller got caught U.S. dollars with $88,591.58 roughly of, if you convert the U.S. The Australian dollar to the United States dollar. This was a long time coming. She said that while during her time in jail, she's going to try to learn Spanish, work on some dance moves, and become a better businesswoman, since, again, she wasn't doing so hot. So, I watched the show here and there. Seems like a good show. And now they have somebody from Dancing with the Stars doing going to be the new host of Dance Mom. So, only time will tell where this is going to go. American Idol is coming back to the American Broadcasting Company. That's right, you heard it first. Starting next year, American Idol will be back on the air, this time on the new network on ABC, with some are speculating Ryan Seacrest to be the host. So, they're going to revamp the show, have Chris come back on as host, even though the guy is doing live and his radio show on Kiss FM. And last time somebody tried to do a new venture, somebody was pissed, Kelly Ripa. And Kelly says she's in full support of Ryan going back to do American Idol, which I'm pretty sure within the next couple of weeks she'll change that too, like how she did with Michael Strahan when he left to do Good Morning America full time. So hopefully they bring it back to its original glory. If not, ABC just lost some money and the show was better off dead. Now we're ending this week on the DDP was Chris Berman. It was reported by TMZ that his wife, Kathleen, died in a very bad car accident outside their Connecticut home. And her car flipped, veered off the road, and crashed into a pond. Now, Berman was attending an event where he got news by NYPD that his wife had passed away in that car accident. Again, our condolences here from the Darrell Dukes Podcast to the Berman family. I know this is tough. Note, the person that she hit in that car also passed away soon time later. And the car that she was driving, Madam Berman was driving, was registered under her husband's name, Chris. So as we all know, Chris Berman is one of the originals of ESPN. He started there a month after the network was launched. Then the rest was history. He no longer does any on-air work for the network. He'll make appearances here and there. He just recently stepped down as of last year of NFL coverage and stuff of that nature. So we'll see him here and there. And like I mentioned, our condolences go out to the family. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Darrell Dukes Podcast. I am your host, Darrell Dukes. And until we meet again, friends, stay gold.